You're live.
Whoa. Pre-show. First off, let's say hey to Kayla. Kayla, can you hear me? I'm paranoid now that every show the sound is awful and no one will tell me. And I'll only find out the next day.
You're
Uh-oh.
live.
Whoa. Whoa. Echo. 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 I could have swore I had that off.
Yeah,
But,
apparently not.
well, yeah, apparently not. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The volume was on.
Yep.
Started streaming less than 1 minute ago. That's a milestone. Hey, I can hear. Yeah, I got total confirmation myself. I heard myself. Through sheer lack of preparedness, maybe?
Yep, I would have gotten
Salt
fired
man.
for that shit.
Oh, man. This is going to be bad. I feel a sneeze coming on.
And it's in the same
Wow,
glorious
why does
sound
YouTube
quality.
sound so shitty? I don't get it. It's the same equipment, the same settings, the same everything. However, when we record the show, crystal clear. Oh, God, it's really on the verge. I can feel it. Oh, it's like dancing at the end of my nose. But, and that's the thing. It also gets worse when the stream is over and they process it, which I think is just like lingo for compress the shit out of it and make it sound awful. If I were a famous person, they'd probably look into it. Give me my own YouTube handler.
Do you still have to sneeze?
No, it seems to have gone away for the time being. So I don't know. These new headphones with the red bar over the top make me feel like I'm wearing a hat with a band abnormally high. You guys will see it once we turn on the video. We went back down to 1 watching now, so.
We were at 4. I don't think this is correct all the time because sometimes it like spikes up and then goes down and then goes up.
Well, you got to adjust for everybody. This is huge numbers we're pulling in, so we got to wait for everybody to stabilize, probably.
Huge ones of numbers.
Single digits are still impressive when they are portrayed large. Just look at Sesame Street. Oh, boy. Today really felt like a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was like a glass of milk or a day.
Warm milk.
Not even warm milk. I didn't feel sleepy at all. It just felt so bland. It was like if a bowl of rice had a fairy godmother, it would be like, oh, bing, and turn it into Wednesday. Not Wednesday Addams, folks. Halloween coming soon to a theater near you.
Yay.
And everywhere, because it'll be a whole day.
A whole Saturday. And I think there's a full moon.
Oh, this is the first Saturday Halloween we have had in nigh on a decade. I can't believe it. Every year, it was just like this anticipation followed by the nut punch of reality where it's like, oh, Wednesday, Tuesday, happy Halloween on a Tuesday. Who can do it? Like, can't we just do like with Thanksgiving and just be like, hey, Halloween is always the last Saturday of October.
That makes sense.
We're not, this is for whatever. If you're going to celebrate Samhain or All Hallow Mass or whatever, all you Wiccans or whatever, do whatever the fuck you want. But for people like you or I, we need a Saturday Halloween 10 times out of 10 because we got jobs.
Yep. We didn't even get Elliot a costume this year.
Because who cares? I don't care. It's a Saturday Halloween. He gets tossed at the mother-in-law's. I'm not wasting this opportunity.
I know.
Because every other Halloween for the rest of my natural life will be anywhere between a Monday and a Thursday. I guarantee it. It's worse than the 2012 near tragedy.
You should look up when the next Saturday Halloween will be.
Would you Google it?
No,
Google.
you just keep like scrolling through your calendar and so
I don't want to do that either.
like
I feel
each
like
year.
I would accidentally leave it 400 years in the future.
I don't think you can set
Halloween's
your calendar.
also Arizona doesn't matter. We keep things the way that the Gregorians did. We don't screw around. Like they knew. Like, you do think when they invented like the Gregorian calendar and they invented time and everything, they were like, we should probably throw in a couple of days a year to really fuck with people. So some people will be early sometimes, some people will be late, and no matter what, because there's always that, someone. I guarantee you know someone. It's that same person who's always late. It's that same person who always brings chips and or napkins to a party. When daylight savings hits, they're going to show up early for the first time all year, or they'll be an hour late again. Yeah, they invented time. It wasn't like just a thing that everybody took for granted. You had to be like, what is a second? I think, Euripides probably came up with time. Probably some Greek guys, what I'm getting at. Everyone gives the Romans credit for everything, but I think it was the Greeks.
I wonder how people think of names of things. Like, who thought of the word second for a second?
Well, it's you can't say that because it's like, who thought of a bird? A bird... Everybody started with monosyllabic grunts, and as we discovered that we needed to describe more things, they got more complex. Because if you deal with two things, if your two day-to-day things are like eat, sleep, shit, and bang, you can definitely hang out with 5 separate grunts. If you're in the cave, you got a grunt for time for hunting. You got a grunt for going to drop a deuce in the back. I mean, and then, once you start getting, agriculture and you have to start describing more things, or maybe even just if you're having to orchestrate a woolly rhino attack or a mammoth attack, it would definitely help to have more than 1 or 2 grunts. Because if you're like, hey man, run around that way and stab him in the balls, and when he's distracted, I'll slit his throat. You're not going to get that with not going to happen.
Well, I mean, you might if all of them communicate in the same way.
But you would have to. You lose in the moment communication. I don't because let's say they could draw a picture on the wall and they would say, okay, here's how we're going to do it as a mammoth hunting team. But you got to be able to move on the fly. You're fighting a giant woolly creature as this ice age monster. And if at the last minute you would decide, instead of a Hail Mary, you decide to do a pincer, you need to be able to tell your bros in loincloths, hey man, change of plans.
Yeah.
We've been going for 7 minutes and we still haven't started the show. I don't think 5 people have shown up, so let's just do this. Hit that switch.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and this is Until My Battery Dies. Sans guest. This is, I guess maybe you'd call it raw, or Until Your Battery Dies naked. That's a popular thing to do.
Naked.
Mm-hmm. If it's granola, you can always say it's naked, and or naked juice, the naked chef. People like naked things. So maybe we'll call this the naked edition, and people will start flocking to it.
The naked hour.
For the dong. I think mostly the dong.
Mostly, even though you're sitting.
Well, no, the promise of a dong. I think that internet porn has given us so many female embodiments. And since my demographic is the major consumer of the product, maybe the dong services are underappreciated. I just realized. I forgot to turn on the flamingo. Christa vamp.
Oh, you forgot to turn Trung on?
It's not Flamingo Friday, so it's not a sin.
Well, I mean, it's a sin enough because now you're making all that noise.
Oh, flamingos. There we go. I was going to say it's Wacky Wednesday or something because I'm wearing a zany shirt, but I don't think that's going to fly. If I got to keep one hashtag, if I had to dump all the ones I've got, which I guess is just Flamingo Friday.
And be like Popeye.
Be like Popeye. Oh, and Team Lose a Leg. I'm on Team Lose a Leg. Hashtag Team Lose a Leg.
And Fossil Friday.
Fossil Friday is not mine. That's the paleontology community at large. I cannot claim that one as my own. The ones that I definitely made, though, I'd probably have to stick with I don't know. It's Sophie's Choice. Because
I have no idea what that's referencing.
Sophie's Choice is a movie where she has to decide which one of her daughters dies. I haven't seen the movie, but that's one of those ones that I feel like I've seen enough representations of. That Citizen Kane, I feel like I've seen enough of. Like when people say it's a Sophie, a real Sophie's Choice, you always know it's a big deal because Sophie had to make a big choice. It's like no one ever says it's a fried green tomato.
Yeah, I never understood that, and I've never had a fried green tomato.
It's a Southern thing. I've never. I can't say I've ever partaken either.
Is it literally just a green tomato that they fry?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like, remember back before we tried fried pickles and we were like, what? It can't just be a pickle you fried. It can't be. And then when they pull out a bunch of pickles they just fried, and you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, it's just a bunch of fried pickles. It's just like that. The name tells you everything you need to know about the product. That's why I appreciate it. No guests, obviously. And the things I really want to talk about, I can't, at least for now. Because as maybe you know, maybe you don't, Kayla. Let's just be real. It's just you and us here. Karate Kid, Cobra. So the whole Karate Kid 3 thing, I thought that was just going to be like a one-time goof and we'd be like, nah, okay, that was fun. Like the third one is never the best one. It's always the worst one. Like if I were going to rag on the Turtles, I would definitely do the third one. But this is really snowballed out of control. I've got to admit to you that this is beyond what I thought it was going to be. And it has become less of a like a jaunty trip through a hilarious side street. And it did, don't get me wrong, it did start out that way because like how do I want to put this? So let's say you're walking down the street, maybe you're a little tipsy, you're in New Orleans. You turn down this side street because you're like, oh, this isn't very dark, and you have to take a piss. And you don't want to get copped for showing your wang and or vag in pubs. So you start walking down, and it's not so bad. Like, it's not great, obviously. It's a side street, but there's like there's recognizable shapes and people, and it's not bad. So, but you keep going and you keep going. And then it like there's no more lights, and all the windows are broken, and the windows that have no glass are just boards, and there's rats, and now there's people stepping out of the dark offering you drugs, and it's just getting worse. And the more I watch of Cobra Kai, the further I go into this alleyway, and it's not good.
I 100% think you are way overreacting.
But overreacting, schmoverreacting. Here's the thing about it, and I can't even talk about it. That's the thing. All the things I want to say, I can't talk about because it's in my notes for the show that is not this one. So that's just, I wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to complain about Cobra Kai without actually complaining about
Kayla
it.
says, I saw the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai free on YouTube. It was a decent distraction, but I don't feel like I'm missing out not watching the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I had to push David to watch the 3rd episode yesterday.
It definitely feels, the first few episodes definitely feel YouTube-y. I hope it gets better quality-wise because it definitely feels very like prosumer DSLR mirrorless sort of shot on a budget. But seriously, we can't. So something happened today that I'm pretty excited about. Everybody knows rather my love for the 90s and 90s nostalgia, and my hope. I don't just say this on the show, obviously. I say it to everybody. If my boss is out there listening, she knows. I keep telling her, prepare for the 90s wave that's going to wash upon our shores very soon. And I got another omen in the mail. Call me Nostradamus, because I've just received a message of the future. It may look unassuming, but when I saw it in my mailbox, I thought, oh my God, that cannot be what I think it is. And it was. Now, keep in mind, this is a shell of what its former self. What I'm getting at is what in the 90s and the 80s, obviously, too. But when I grew up, the 80s and 90s were big. We had catalogs and we had circulars. And so you get the Sears catalog, you get the JCPenney catalog, you get your Toys R Us inserts. This is a goddamn catalog, guys. It's an Amazon catalog. So, but that's the thing. There's no more brick and mortar stores. Sears is not going to send you anything. And I appreciate the shit out of this because it is so, even though it's brand new, it's thin as shit and it looks like sleek and obviously like
modernized,
modern and like Lisa Frankie.
Yeah.
And like sort of like that Doug and what's that kid brand? Doug and Fox and Hound or fucking every kid. Here's the thing.
Cat and Jack?
Yeah, that too. But here's the thing about children's toys, clothing, media, etc. Everybody who makes something for a child is a pair of people, and they are either cartoon animals and or cartoon people.
Oh, Melissa and Doug.
Melissa and Doug, Cat and Jack, all these motherfuckers. Knock that shit off. Just be one thing or be a bunch of bears or be one thing. Don't be blank and blank, you fucking hipster bitches. Moral of the story is this is a catalog that's like a catalog from when I was a kid. It is like straight up pictures of toys and shit and
I
like
used to like circle what I wanted.
Yes.
Or
my
dog
God.
ear the page.
Just flipping through this now is giving me such an endorphin rush. And not only is it like a catalog like you would see in the old days, but they went the extra mile and they give you like this little insert here that's
Aw.
like
Make a list.
yeah, basically a list of the shit you want. On the back there's like a cocoa recipe, which is whatever. And then you think, well, what's all this crap? They have fucking like stickers and shit in here. Like Amazon went the extra mile.
Because they can.
Well, yeah, and basically they'll all own us one day. So I may be eating this review in the future as we're digging away in Amazon's pixel mines. But I mean, talk about throwback. I hope more companies do this. I would like to see, Amazon is probably the only one who can at this point.
I get the Lakeside catalog in the mail.
Well, I mean,
It's different, I guess.
maybe not. I'm talking about a Christmas catalog.
Well, yeah.
I never gave a shit about catalogs any other time of year, save for right around now, because they'd all drop and you'd get them and they'd be thick as phone books, and you'd have to go through all the clothing, all the apparel, all the appliances, and it was like. Maybe this was just me, but when I was a kid and I had a big, heavy thing, that felt really important. And so a Sears catalog was thick and heavy, and it had pictures of toys in it, and it felt important. And it made me feel like a businessman, because I could flip through this large book and be like, stocks are up in Mattel, or whatever.
Did you stick it in your Trapper Keeper and carry it around?
No, this was before, like, by the time I had a Trapper Keeper, I was done with catalogs, but I dig this, man. So now I'm trying to think, like, Amazon is a big enough company where they sell enough stuff. I don't know if who else would do that? Are there any other big stores out there, like online stores, like Wish? What if Wish put out like oh God, that would be disgusting.
No.
Like, this is nice paper, and it's obviously like very weighty and like thick, and it feels nice.
Well, if Wish
like,
did it,
if Wish put out a catalog, it would be probably 4 times this thick because they want to get as much out as possible. But it would be like that razor thin newsprint paper.
yeah, it'd be like tissue paper,
and it would like get your hands turned black, and you'd be like, ugh.
But then like every other page would be like sex toys, because whenever I used to go on Wish, there'd be.
Well, obviously this would just be catered to the children.
I don't think they would do that. I'm
Well,
pretty sure they would do the whole gamut.
But this is what I'm getting at. It would be for kids. These catalogs are for kids.
I wonder if they do a JCPenney one still, because they're still around.
I know, but do they have the money to put out catalogs that
I
they
don't
give
know.
away for free? I doubt it.
I mean, considering like the other stores are closing and they're left.
Right, but that's the thing. When you're hanging on with both hands off the edge of a cliff, you don't take the time to like light up a smoke with $100 bill with your other hand. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to think of companies that would be big enough to do something like this. And that's the thing. It's aimed at kids. Like, this is the time. Like, this is the only time that advertising won't be annoying.
Yeah.
The only time advertising isn't annoying in your entire life is under like 12 and under. Because now I don't give a shit about commercials. But back in the day, it was almost like waiting to see what new. I was even a sucker for like car commercials and shit like that. I would be like, new everything. Obviously, like the old Dove quarter moisturizing cream bar commercials I could have taken or leaving. But most of the stuff in the 90s was wild enough that I was like, yeah, I could. I was a dumb, like, naive consumer. I was very obsessed with getting the best deal on a car by the age of like 11 because I would see these commercials and I would, see like the 1996 Ford Taurus with the 4 cylinders and power steering, and you had to just, what did a car cost back in the 90s? Like $8,000? It would be like $999.99 and whatever our APR, and I would like run to my mom and be like, or depending on how desperate I felt at the time. Sometimes I would just desperately and sweatily think this to myself, but I think, oh man, what if that deal's gone by the time I'm old enough to drive? I was so upset.
I don't remember car commercials, but like the kids' toys commercials that would come out. Looking back now, like all the kids' reactions were insane. Like when I was a kid, I don't think I got that excited over something.
No, but you had to. Like you never are as happy as the kids in the commercial, because the kids in the commercial. Crazy. But they got, number one, they're getting paid. But even forget that. Let's just say we're living in the world of the commercial. These kids have access to the entire playset, all the action figures, and those goddamn plastic ice cubes that we all wanted but never were allowed to have. So in that world, yeah, I'd be happy as shit. But in the real world, you're spending your $5 worth of allowance on one action figure, and you have to borrow a quarter from some family member to cover the tax.
Yeah, you never think about tax when you're a kid.
I always thought about tax because I was like, oh my, like I would be, up until I saw the price flash up on the screen, I would be constantly rerunning 7% over the everything I was buying, because I was like, when you're a kid and you have a very finite budget, pennies could make or break your day.
Yeah.
Oh, that was rough though. But anyway, yeah. This obviously is a little more Star Wars and stuff in here than I would like, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just old man Dave. But where are the action figures? Goddamn! Like what the I feel like these are all like your Legos and whatever, your Minecrafts. But I want Ninja Turtle action figures.
Well, that's, even if you got that in that catalog right there, you'd be complaining because they're not the original Ninja Turtles.
Well, no, they'll never be the originals, but there have been good iterations. I've got a Raphael probably over there on the other relic shelf. Not bad, They've had 9 or 10 looks over the past 3 or 4 years, so I mean, odds are. Plus, there are those nice NECA figures. I want to get some of those, but like $40 a turtle.
Wow.
But they are nice. They are beautiful movie quality figures.
Yeah, but you do nothing with them.
I would probably just like take a whole bunch of photos of them. Because since they are like legitimately movie, I would do like something low key. Like obviously, I would just buy one because I'm not rich and I'd have to save up for it. But I would get Raph, like shoot it in a way where he's lit like he's in the sewer, so it would hide all of his joints, and have like a legitimate, realish looking print to put on the wall. But I can't justify the initial $40 expense, because then I just spent $40 to hang a picture on my wall.
Well, you could sell the pictures too.
Nobody wants to buy my pictures. Maybe I'll go to Comic-Con and be like, 1 8x10, $8, no waiting.
Yeah.
And it's gone. And I'll make a clean $8.
You and Scott can do a...
Go halvesies on a table and I'll have my one picture. I'll sign it too.
Well, you also have the Harley Quinn one.
Maybe but I want to... Maybe I'll do... This would be a fun prank, obviously. I would have to be stupid rich to do it. Not necessarily like super rich, but rich enough to get stupid. I would get a table at Like, let's say I do get the Ninja Turtle figure. My plan comes to fruition. The photo looks awesome. I print out one glossy 8x10, slide it into one of those protective things, and I sign it. And I put it in the middle of my table. Nice, beautiful red satin tablecloth. And I pull up my chair behind and I slap my big gulp on the counter. Price on that baby, $500. And that's all I got. And I just sit there all day watching people come by, get pissed off, and leave.
I wonder if somebody would buy it.
I hope not, because then the joke will be over. Like, I could stretch that out for 3 days. And if somebody did offer to buy it, I would have to push them back, run a Sharpie line through the 500 and write 1,500 above it. And then be like, spike in demand, limited run sale. Because I would just, because then you get to sit there and watch all the weirdos. You don't have to walk around and like basically get stink on you. Mm-hmm. You get your own table. So bam, you're not one of the scrubs sitting by the bathrooms eating nachos and hot dogs off the floor like a scrub. It would be worth it just for that alone. $250, whatever, $400, $500 for a table at Comic-Con to try and sell one photo. And then if I did, I'm in the money. But the chair alone pays for itself, because then I'll get to like fuck around and spend the whole 3 days there, see all the people. I'll put a be back in whenever the fuck I want sign on my table, because what the fuck do they care? They've got my money and they don't care if I sell my one photo. I'll put the photo into one of those, I feel like this was in, Kayla, you may remember this too. Remember in the Muppet Caper, I believe in that movie, the MacGuffin were the jewels in the iconic metal briefcase, handcuffed to the dude with the huge pinky ring. And that's what I would do. When I left, I would put a be back in whenever the fuck I feel like sign. I would open up my metal briefcase, pop that in there, and walk around with a huge ass, maybe like a topaz and gold pinky ring.
Wow. Topaz or turquoise?
No, topaz. It's got like bright orange. It's got to be real sparkly and like gaudy, and like orange on gold is really ugly and shitty looking. So that's what I would do. I'd have a fucking huge one, and people are like, oh, what's in the briefcase? And like there would be people following me around, and then I would go back to my table, fill the briefcase, do the combination, boop, 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 put up the photo, get like a T-square, make sure it's just right there in the center, dust it off, throw my feet back up on that motherfucker, and get on my phone and start playing video games or whatever. Because if you've got the money, why not, is what I'm saying. It's not going to hurt anybody, and it might just blow a few minds. Plus, it'll give me an opportunity to look further for reproductions of the April O'Neil sketches from the original film.
Oh, yeah.
Some have come close. Like, some people have replicated the style but done their own scenes. That's not what I want. I want those particular ones.
The ones that she drew, right?
Yeah, obviously here's the thing. I feel like art is a tricky mistress, because when I want to buy a piece of art from a artist or a comic book person or whatever, I get the idea of a print. I get the idea that you want to spread your art and make money. But to me, I don't want a photocopy of. I want the thing that a part of your soul lives in. God damn it! And that's why, like the stuff I have up here, like that, you can't really see it, but like a blind date with a book over here from Scotty Vaughn. That's a handmade piece of art. Like, I've got art over here submitted from fans hanging on the wall. Like, this is all handmade. I don't like reproductions, but I get what purpose they serve. I get why people love posters. But if I'm going to support an artist, I don't mind paying a bunch to get the original, because that is, it's like eating a piece of their heart. It's getting their courage. That's a piece of them that is not a duplicate. Mm-hmm. So, maybe I'm an art snob, but that's the whole point of art. Like, your art is the connection to you, your heart, your brain, and the artist expressing the thing, and you're connecting on it. And I feel like a movie poster, I get it. They're made to be mass produced. They're made to be gaudy and big, and that's why I love my Ninja Turtle poster. But I equally love my. I've got some hand-drawn artwork. Another one from Scott Vaughn and I think Bill Farmer did that one.
Yeah, Bill Farmer.
But those are hand-drawn from a book that I was featured in. And actually, that probably means a little more to me because I've got a piece of Scott's soul in that thing. He drew that with his hands. That's the ink that came out of the pen that he touched. And so that's the thing. Like movie posters I get, and like posters for bands or whatever. But for like hand-drawn, like this is a piece of you, I want the original, man.
Yeah.
I don't want a cardboard cutout of Batman in my bathroom. I want the real Batman in my bathroom. That's why it's hard, though. And because if you want like a real, not even a real, just like an 8x10 original, it'll cost you an arm and a leg. That's why every piece of art I've ever gotten handmade from Comic-Con is like at biggest 4x5, and it's like $25.
Yeah. It's, well, and, it takes them, because they probably did it sitting there.
Well, yeah, each one, like they're literally, you're sitting right next to them. They're in that collection of photos. But yeah, we watch them do it, and that's part of it too, is even if you don't get to watch them do it, which is cool, they did it. And
Well, and everything is different. Like each thing is, like if they're making 6 of the same thing, they're not the same, but they're
even
the same.
if you, I guess that's, maybe this show can fit into that category because everyone is a little bit different and they're made to be mass produced. So it's not like there's an original that I or anyone else kind of like me would give a fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's the nature of the beast. I feel like if you're going to hang it on the wall, I want it to be in the purest form possible. If it's a movie poster, I want it exactly the same size, shape, color palette, etc. And if it's somebody made it, I want to see the paint. I want to smell it. I want to look at it and see the ink.
Yeah.
But that's a rich man's game.
Mm-hmm.
Or, an artist game, which
like
I am not.
All those galleries that we walked by up in Scottsdale, like those are all
So many. Like, I get that too. Like, but I don't know. I think I'm also I love the Southwest, but I've also very tired of Southwest art. I love quail. I've seen a million paintings of them. I'll still break for them because I don't want to hit them with my car, but I will not buy a painting of one because I get to see them all the fucking time. But all these goddamn snowbirds and out-of-towners, they love that shit. So I bet Scottsdale is probably the place for like, oh, Harold, a quail.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
They have snakes with rattles on the tail. Speaking of snowbirds, by the way, holy shit. So obviously most of them have stayed back because by now we would be drowning in old ball sack. So the ones who have come here are obviously the dumbest of them. And I wouldn't be like, so because that's what I want to judge. Like, I realize now Arizona is not, I think we're probably 5th worst at this point, which is great. We're moving up the ladder. But still, someplace goes from number 50 to number 45. You're not like, pack up the RV, Mavis. We're going to a place that's well above rock bottom.
That might kill
but
us.
far below the top.
Well, and I saw a map somebody posted on my Facebook of like all the, like, it was shades of blue, and then like the darkest blues are the states that are most affected or like the highest rates, and all of the places where the snowbirds come from were like almost white, like they're not affected barely at all.
Yeah, so
And
why would you
Arizona-
come here?
Arizona and New York and like Nevada and all those are dark.
Like, don't get me wrong. If you've got a death wish and you're coming here to pit your will and immune system against the coronavirus in a mano a mano challenge to see if you are worthy of coming back next year, you've got the FFOP stamp of approval. I appreciate it. However, I don't think it's in your best interest.
Probably not.
But whatever. You can't. That's the thing. No matter how dumb an idea, there's always going to be someone to do it.
Yeah.
That's why so many people end up with like beehives on their head. Like, you'd think, or at the very least, humans as a society should, at this point, we've been around, let's say as we are as a species, let's not count all the proto-monkey stuff, the hominid stuff. Let's say for the last 200,000 years, by now, we should have an emergency room free of things, or free of people, rather, who have things stuck up their ass. Because in 200,000 years of the asshole existing as it does today, you think that in 200,000 years, people would be like, not something to screw around with, and or be prepared to take lessons from the Boy Scouts. But no, every year our ERs and our waiting rooms are flooded with people with various bric-a-brac and sundry up their butts.
It's gross.
So I guess my point over all that is until we can go an entire year without someone being admitted to an emergency room with something up their ass, I'll disavow accidents. If it's an accident, like if you're running with the bulls or you fall off a ladder onto a one of those big crates full of empty Pepsi bottles, fine. Accidents I'll take. But if you come in and there's, a mag light up your ass and it's in like light side first and there's obviously been some fiddling with the knob, I'm not going to buy like, oh, whoops, I was looking for some preserves in the basement and one thing led to another and there was pine sol on the floor and I slipped. Nuh-uh. I don't think we can call ourselves human beings until we can go as a species. So this will be every country. Every
It'll
country that has
never
an
happen.
ER. No, nothing up the butt. I guess here's my hope for the future. I'm not saying that things shouldn't go in butts because I can't stop that. That's like the war on drugs. The war on butt play is as a fool's errand. What I'm saying is be smart enough to either think ahead, think about the thing you're putting up there, and or have a plan of escape and or a buddy system and or like something,
Safe
people.
word.
Like this isn't like you're not trying a new restaurant. This isn't like, oh, we'll just run in and if the curry's bad, we'll run and get a burger. It's not 1 in a million meals that you're going to like, if it goes horribly wrong, you end up hungry at the end of all of it. You could have serious butt trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So plan ahead, people. The Boy Scouts may not have intended it for butt play, but they got it right on the money. Be prepared. Have a plan, an escape plan. You always got to have a parachute of some kind. Also, I don't know if, I've been talking about this on the Discord, so I'm going to bring it up to everybody here, Kayla. Everybody associated with me and around me and on the show is getting snipped. And if it's that easy, like I always thought that, because I've always heard stories where when women want to get their tubes tied, the doctors are always like, oh ho, pump the brakes. You still got baby pumping years, so let's just take a break. Andy has squirted out 0 kids, and they're going to tie his sack up for him.
Yeah, it's not like literally any guy can go and do that. I
think that's fucked. Because guys have literally nothing to lose. Guys can literally impregnate 1 million women between 12 and death. And if I'm like, hey man, snip my tube or tie it up or put it in a bow or twist my balls around in the middle of whatever they do. I don't know what they do, but like I who have the potential for millions, maybe not millions, hundreds of children, doctor will be like, you got it, champ. Now let's drop those drawers and get me at that sack. But a woman who can produce a finite amount of children before her body literally breaks down and dissolves, they'll be like, whoa, you've only had like 2 or 3. Are you sure you don't want to pop out a few more? Really ream out that old dungeon area before we give this the old sealed off for good? Like, fuck that shit.
Well, I think, this probably isn't why they do it, but, a lot of women, after they have babies, are like, well, never having one again. And then they get their tubes tied, and then they want another baby, and then they have to go and they can untie your tubes, but tying your tubes versus getting a vasectomy are 2 completely different things because one is way more invasive than
sure,
the
but
other.
that's all the more reason to be like, this is a big decision. So when a person comes to you saying, I want to do this, I am like, because I don't I've not looked into getting a vasectomy because it's literally a 15-minute procedure and everybody's doing it, so why bother? But if I were going to do an invasive surgery, I'd look into it. So it always smacks more of like, you come into the doctor's office like, 2020 chic, like ripped jeans and a t-shirt, sitting down, rapping about like, I want to get my tubes tied. We swivel around to the doctor who's like, now here, dear. And then we turn back around and we see from his point of view, and you're like a little Miss 50s thing with a ponytail, like asking for ice cream money. And he's like, not today. We'll tell you when you've had enough kids. Now run along. That's always how it felt to me anyway.
I'm not sure it's like that.
Maybe it's not, but
Like, I don't know.
But but that's the thing. Why do I, with more potential to pump out more children, get zero? Like
that's probably why.
But why then? Don't make that the excuse. If the excuse is I don't want to tie your tubes because you could have more kids, never tie another man's dick tube then, because they can never stop not having kids. Like if I whacked it into a rubber glove, threw it out of a car window and into a dumpster, and it somehow found purchase, that is a viable way of a kid could spawn from that, possibly and hypothetically.
No.
So there's potential.
I think doctors are more willing to do vasectomies on men because they can make a lot of kids. So, if 10 dudes want to get vasectomies, okay, that's fine. There's still millions of other dudes who can make a bunch of kids.
But there's a million other women who can make a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
I think that the double standard I think is stupid.
I don't think there's a double standard.
Well,
I don't think doctors necessarily are telling women we shouldn't tie your tubes.
Think of it like this. So, I don't know how to put it. So let's say, I don't like this metaphor. Screw it.
Well, and it probably...
I'm jettisoning the whole thing.
I'm wondering if getting your tubes tied leads you faster to menopause. Because it might change your hormones.
I don't know why. You still have all the working mechanisms. Like, there's nothing in there that's not doing what it's supposed to do, aside from just not going where it's... But that's the weirdness about all the body stuff. Is like, I don't get how most of it works, but somehow we figured it out. Mm-hmm. So, whatever. Like, to me, getting a vasectomy or getting your tubes tied always feels very draconian, because in my head, the basic mechanics of the thing is like, oh, we're tying your tubes so the eggs won't drop. But then to me, I'm thinking like you picture, let's say a tube sock and an egg coming through it. And you tie the sock and there's going to be egg after egg after egg. And you're like, what's happening to these eggs? And then when you think about getting a vasectomy, when they snip it or tie it off, and the stuff that's supposed to come out with some force no longer can, you put your hand in the nozzle of a super soaker. When you pull the trigger, where's the water go is my question. I'm sure they figured it out. I'm not super interested in looking into it, but it's weird. It's weird. I don't get it. That's why I'm not looking into it. But I feel like that's the thing. Mine is so non-invasive. Like if getting a vasectomy involved like going in, getting knocked out, you're down for 4 hours.
Yeah, nobody would do it.
I probably still would, but that's the thing. If then I come to you and I say I want a vasectomy, then all the more reason to be like, okay, obviously this is a big decision. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to, this is obviously a different situation, but when you go to buy a car, no one goes, are you sure? Like no one's like, I think I want to buy a car. Like, I don't know about that. Like,
I don't know.
I maybe whatever. Even if it's a straw man argument, I feel like I must have gotten the idea from somewhere. I'm not making up. Like I'm not hanging out in doctors' offices where women are constantly begging to get their tubes tied, and these doctors are flat out refusing, and then hitting them with spikes or whatever. I must have picked it up somewhere. Is what I'm getting at. It
was probably on sitcoms or TV shows and stuff like that because.
I'm sure Grace Under Fire dealt with it.
I don't know what that show is.
I can't imagine. Grace Under Fire was one of those shows that was kind of like Murphy Brown, where it was like a fun show, but it had no legs. Like there's no lasting power because of like, I don't know. The 90s were a weird time when, you know, if you're old enough, you can remember when Ellen came out as gay. And it was like a TV event. It was as if it was like almost War of the Worlds for my generation. Like we all gather around the TV to hear Ellen on a TV show be like, "I'm gay," and we're like, "Oh my God, how brave!" And now that's like breakfast for most people. Like, so it's all that stuff that doesn't hold up. But again, notwithstanding the sort of sluggish, like I'm gay, and that sort of quaint back and forth of, I'm sure people are still struggling, but I feel like it's gotten better, at least, you know, acceptance wise, and maybe even superficially. Maybe I'm sure there are people suffering out there. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is, we have these people tiptoeing around these softball issues, and still, like the 90s was still a gray area where like racist jokes could slip in every once in a while and stuff like that. So the 90s sitcoms and stuff did not, when you open that time capsule, it'll be like the bologna sandwich and not like the Twinkie. Yeah. Like the music of the 90s, that'll be around forever. The comedy of the 90s,
not so much.
Because I think that's probably the problem is, like, in the 70s and 80s, you can almost consider them cavemen and be like, they didn't know any better. They were big hair and big glasses and Charlie's Angels. And the 2000s, you're like, wake the fuck up, man. It's 2000. But the 90s is so ironic because everyone was saying, like, wake up, man. It's the 90s, when it's probably not very progressive, all things said and done, because it's not the old-timey quaint racism of the 70s and 80s, and it's not like the new age wokeness and like shit of the 2000s. It's that weird time where nothing's going to be replicated because it's that black line separating two epochs. Like the 90s is the charcoal KT layer between the Cretaceous and Tertiary periods, and you can't reproduce it because it's just destruction.
Why is everything gotta be about dinosaurs?
That wasn't about dinosaurs. That was about their extinction. If I could point to the layer between the Permian and the Triassic, I would have done that, because then it would be synapsids, so not dinosaurs. But, you know, any one of the great die-offs. That's what I'm getting at. The 90s is that place in time where, you know, I don't know when the 90s nostalgia hits. Because like, okay, so here's an example. Perfect example is like Stranger Things and the new incarnation of It. Mm-hmm. They kept that intact, and they still use period specific slurs and stuff. And so it's jarring, but it's expected because it's old-timey and it's old and it's draconian and it's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah. But the 90s is like that bland middle ground of like, oh, you're gay. And it's not flat out 80s like, oh, you're gay, let's make a joke, and it's transgressive. And it's not like 2000s, oh, you're gay, let's bring it into the spotlight. It's we know it exists, but we're not ready to accept it, so everybody's super uncomfortable, and it's like the worst time to be a sitcom.
Yeah, that's true.
Friends did it. All the big ones did it. There's like, they would always have a gay character. The Simpsons did it. John Waters came on. Yeah, everybody had a gay panic episode in the 90s. And, maybe that's why I like the 90s so much, is because of all the growing pains. Like, we had to, like, the fashion. The 90s were a big transitory period because we went from the 80s being incredibly zany, and we were able to take 70s and 80s fashion and tame it to almost palatable by like 94. 94, man. Like when grunge hit and like flannel and all that shit and like baggy t-shirts and stuff, we were able to take like crazy 90s shit, and like by the end of the 90s moving into the 2000s, it had been streamlined to like just jeans and a t-shirt as everybody's uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So the 90s were pivotal. I cannot express to you how important the 90s were, even though, rose-colored glasses, obviously, you're always going to remember the fruit by the foots. You're always going to remember the bubble tapes. You're going to remember the Eggo waffles of yesteryear.
Dunkaroos.
The Dunkaroos, the gack of it all, the floam of it all. The Aqua Dots, the Zoo Mags, or Zoo Books, I should say. They were magazines. Highlights, the Nickelodeon magazine. All of these things are awful.
They still make highlights.
Oh, I know. Highlights, but the highlights wasn't a thing in the 90s. I just associated because I was a kid in the 90s. They were from I feel like highlights, Goofus and Gallant have been around for 50, 60 years. Like, I remember in the late 80s, the only silver lining of going to the dentist, there were two things I could always count on. My mom would say, that day would come and you wouldn't be told because the week before would be a complete nightmare leading up. It was just like you wake up and you were told then. It was like, oh, wake up. And I'm like, and go to the dentist and bam, you're awake. So the two things I could always count on. It would be K-Light 98.7 FM playing on the radio with all the all those soft rock hits that were big in the late 80s, early 90s, like the swept bed, like the soft lenses and the power ballads. That's all it was. And running over to the magazine rack to pick up the latest highlights. The only thing I cared about was the Find the Difference.
Oh yeah.
One. That those. And the Find the Object one.
Mm-hmm.
Where it'd be like, find a duck. And it was always like the most liberal interpretation of a duck. Where as a child, it's like, here's the thing, you're finding a duck, a ladle, a tree, a blah, blah, blah. And when you find the duck, it's been smashed into like this weird S shape. And they made it fit in like the crevice of a canyon somewhere.
Vertically.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes upside down or backwards, like find the teapot, and it'll be backwards, upside down, inverted, and inside out. And I'm like, that feels a little cheap, highlights.
Yeah.
But after 90 years, you got to probably get bored and try something new.
Speaking of like dentists, I used to go to the orthodontist more than the dentist because I had a lot of metal in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be the big arcade Burger Time.
Burger Time.
And I used to always go play it when we got there. And like the orthodontist always had this weird distinct smell. And every once in a while I'll get that smell in my memories with random things like bubble gum. It's the smell of like straight up bubble gum.
Yeah, like there was every place like that. It's always the chemicals that they keep around because the dentist's office smells different than the doctor's office and all of that shit. Here's a fun dentist story. And not to point out another time that I'm always right, but I was right in this instance too. This was one of those days where the dentist appointment was like later in the day, so we had that double gut punch of going to school and then halfway through the day getting yanked out to go to the dentist's office. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those days, and it was like whatever, hot dog day. It was after lunch, and it was like a real kick in the dick because you get out at 3 and mom shows up at like 2:30 for the dentist appointment. You're like, why the fuck did we even bother? Whatever. But I still to this day have a very weak gag reflex. And my dentist was aware of that. And so, when you get that hockey mouth guard full of fluoride, instead of doing that, because it always worked out poorly, he would just put the fluoride on a toothbrush and brush it on my teeth, and voila, I just sit there. But he got one of those nurses who...
Dental hygienist.
Not
a nurse.
No, I'm saying nurse because you'll identify with this.
Oh.
Those nurses who show up and do things the way they know how to do it because that's the way they were taught, and I ain't gonna. They got a lot of neck action in their shit. This bitch shows up. She was new to the office, dental hygienist with that nurse attitude. Mm-hmm. And she's like, it's fluoride time. And I'm like, she's like, do you want mint chocolate chip, bubble gum, or fruit punch? I want bubble gum. So she says, okay, here it is in the thing. Open up. And I was like, no, you can't do that. I don't do that. I don't want you to do that. I will throw up on you. Do not make me put this in my mouth. Well, long story short, after a belabored argument, I said, okay, I gave in.
Barfed on.
Yeah. I go, okay. So she put that blue thing in my mouth. It was not 3.5 seconds. As soon as the bend at the back of that styrofoam thing hit where my jaw clenches in the back here, boom, Vesuvius. Like the mouth guard, all of the pink fluoride and my lunch propelled from my mouth. I just, wow, in this cascade of hot dog chunks and pink goo and blue styrofoam. And this bitch then looks down at the puddle of barf on her leg, shoe, and floor and looks back at me and she goes, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
You think?
Something along those lines. And I was like, well, now I'm hungry, you bitch. What the? And then you can't. Here's not only that, but the stinger at the end of that is now that I had barfed up my lunch and had to do the fluoride treatment the way I had requested earlier, I had to wait an hour to eat again because you have to wait an hour after getting a fluoride treatment before eating or drinking.
Oh.
And you know what? Every fucking time, I don't even know why we kept up the charade. Because literally, we've driven by it. Across the street from where my dentist office was is a Wendy's. And every time we would leave, my mom, as we were turning, so my dentist office, you turn right into the intersection and wait to make a left. On the left side, as you are sitting at the light, is the Wendy's. My mom would be like, oh, we should get a oh, yeah, the fluoride. Next time, every time, it was this carrot that was like, Frosty, yoink, fluoride, bitch.
I don't think I ever got. I don't remember fluoride treatments.
Maybe it was a regional thing. But it was just everyone here is telling them it was like you just had the mouth guard that they squirt the goo in.
Well, it's not a fluoride treatment. Like when I used to get the goo in the metal piece, it was.
It's not metal.
Oh, see
that's the thing. This is the fluoride treatment was just from what I understood from my limited child brain.
Right.
It was an anti-cavity thing, and also like a whitening agent was in there.
Huh. Yeah,
So,
I don't remember ever doing that. I just remember did you ever have a cast taken of your teeth?
Yeah.
That is rough.
But
with the goo and the gagging and the
But
grossness.
the fluoride thing was always the coup de grace, like after the tooth cleaning and the not the drilling, but like that weird grinding thing with the paste.
I can't talk about dentists anymore.
It was always like I was always just bored. Like I get that people are afraid of the dentist. It's just like getting stuck laying on my back under a bright light with my mouth open and not being able to say anything for minute after agonizing minute was torture. I can't listen to anything. I'm just listening to my dentist breathe gently over my face. So you're like locked in your head, also getting a main line of the vibration from the tooth cleaning and or drilling and or whatever the fuck is going on.
Did you ever have braces or anything like that?
No.
Oh my God. That was, I hated the dentist, but the orthodontist.
It was just boring.
My orthodontist was 1.5 million years old. And you used to lay there and they had that yellow light. It wasn't even like a bright light. It was like a dim ass yellow light. Yeah, like that weird shell.
Yeah. That they all. I feel like every one of those. In 1954, some company made 17 million of those and have been selling them off slowly since.
Yeah, and he just lay there and he would be so close to my face you could feel the hotness of his breath, and it never smelled good. And he would
That's one thing I will give my dentist. Always a fresh breath.
He did not. And I had the 4 braces, I had the whole mouth full of braces, I had a palate expander, and my mom and I would have to literally take an Allen wrench into the palate expander and tighten it every so often in my mouth.
here's the thing
terrible.
about all these like whether it's the braces or when you see the kid with the weird head shaping helmets or whatever. I get over it, man. If your kid's gonna have a weird shaped head or whatever, like everybody thought
Braces are different than the head thing. As a
maybe,
baby.
but I like major headgear or like all this reshaping stuff. It's become so ubiquitous that there's no longer a line between like this is a medical necessity and this is something we can bilk your insurance for.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know what the mortality rate for an oddly shaped head was before these helmets were created, but probably still zero. Like, so like I had a weird shaped head. Like every picture of me as a child, I've got a weird shaped head. I grew out of it. And even if I didn't, hats exist. Like, what do you, like, let's say your kid has a weird dent on one side of his head. Then what?
Yeah.
Like, unless your kid is, like, exclusively, like, like me, falls in love with the shave look like Gordon from Sesame Street, they're probably going to be fine. Like, get the fuck over it. I don't,
Yeah, we didn't need that for Elliot, but like I have a barbell in the back of my two front teeth in the top to hold my two teeth together. Why can't they just do that instead of braces? 'Cause braces pull your teeth together and straighten them out. Why can't?
Well, because once the braces are there for a temporary thing, if they're leaving that barbell as a permanent structure, that is why. Braces are to muscle your teeth into something resembling a human mouth. And then by their structure, since they are so rigid, you can be like, on your way, and you're done. But if you've got something structurally wrong where you're like the bone didn't form or whatever, I get that. I just don't get all these goofy people who are like, we just saw one of those. And I was like, why? Like, what is more embarrassing? Having a kid with a slightly odd-shaped head or having a kid who has a helmet that looks like someone
took a piece out of it? Like
not even like a piece. It's just always like a random assortment of odd squiggles and like heart. It's like basically like if you took all of the Lucky Charms marshmallows and chopped them up into weird bits and just sort of pasted them around a kid's head. That's what this thing is.
Yeah, they are odd. And
it's just stupid.
I totally get what you were saying about the nurses and like the nurses. We the last, I don't remember, one of the last times I went to the eye doctor back in Connecticut, there was a new lady. My mom would always have to come with me to the eye doctor, and the lady that I always requested actually like died. So they had a new lady. Her name was like Olga or Helga or something, and she had a super heavy accent, and like we like went in there, and I'm like, okay, these are the XYZ tests that I can't do. Like, you don't even try. I'm gonna fail it, so don't even bother. And she's like, well, we have to do it anyway. And she gave me these things, and I failed, and I had a whole panic attack, and I'm like crying because she's forcing me to do these tests that I literally can't do. And then she's rushing me, and like,
I know in those instances, I always want to be like, why? Number one, why was I not listened to?
Right.
Like, I get, sure, when I was a kid, I realized you don't want to listen to a child.
I was an adult.
Right. That's the thing, is like, I've gone my entire life, and as a kid, I fully accepted it. Like, when that bitch wanted to stick that fluoride in my mouth, I knew that she was going to win because she was an adult. Mm-hmm. But as I became an adult, I have gained zero credibility somehow.
Yeah. Don't you trust your own body? Like, don't they trust that you know your body?
Even beyond that, I'm like, beyond medical professionals, I'm talking about like personal and or professional predictions, predilections, and beyond. Like, I still cannot get anyone to believe anything I'm saying until it's retroactively proven right, in which case, why bother? Like, yeah, of course, everybody's a Nostradamus when hindsight's in your benefit, god damn it. I said it before it happened.
Yep.
I'm going to start Johnny Carsoning this bullshit.
Do it.
Maybe I'll start making some predictions, sealing them in envelopes, and mailing them off to members of the FFOP community with the accompanying dates to open them, obviously, because I can't just have you open them willy-nilly.
Right.
I'm going to start sending out some letters in regards to my 90s predictions, possibly. Because as much as I hate to say this, it'll probably not kick in. It'll probably be just like the 90s happened originally. We're going to have a little bit of 80s runoff into maybe 21, 22. But by the end of 22, I think we'll be back in the swing of like 92, and we can relive the 90s again.
Yeah.
We've got to shake off the 80s nostalgia, just like the 80s shook off the shit-covered boots of, or the 90s shook off the shit-covered boots of the 80s. We're going to have to, and that's what I'm worried about, is like the pandemic and everything setting my 80s nostalgia back. My 90s nostalgia back, sorry. So, worst case scenario, I'm going to say 94. But I'm hoping for a 90, end of 91, early fiscal year 92 for a full 90s revival. 92. 02.
22.
22. Somebody get math. You guys know what I'm saying. Like, no one cares
Between
anyway.
2 and 4 years from now.
Yeah, mark my words. And I think 2 is probably even, it could happen, I'm going to say 18 months. 18 months to 4 years, pandemic coming into play.
All right. That'd be nice.
Because that's the thing. If the pandemic ends and the people pull their heads out of their asses, we can get this ball rolling very quickly. But if everybody's still like, I have a right to die, then we cannot relive soccer boppers. We cannot relive Boglins. You assholes are keeping Street Sharks from me. Oh, I didn't wear a mask. Well, if you did, we would have a fucking 90s extravaganza. But we have to wait because your dumbass has to be like, it's my right, and I want to go to the grocery store. And what happens because you can't smoke inside anymore? Things change. Get over it. If you're one of these assholes clinging to the way things were and can't realize that nothing has ever stayed the same and progress is inevitable, thank you for joining the Republican Party. But the rest of us are moving forward. Mm-hmm. Holy fuck. How many, like, whatever. I don't want to turn this into one of those.
Mm-mm. Don't do it.
So, got a catalog. How long have we been rolling? I feel like I've been...
An hour and 6 minutes.
How's this going, Typing Square? Is there, I've been keeping, I feel like every time I do this, mine freezes.
Nobody's talking.
Nobody's talking. That's fine. Nobody needs to talk. I feel bad when I have guests on because I want to talk more and they get into that, I tell you. All the notes, I feel like, I feel like I'm trolled all the time, but by people I know and they're doing it on purpose.
That's probably accurate.
But yeah, what do you say about that? Like I recognize
means they
it.
like you.
They recognize it. I feel like maybe on a small level, I'm a hyper self-aware Chris Chan.
Oh my God! Do not. We're not talking about.
So my trolls are dedicated, and I
Yeah.
recognize it, and we both sort of see each other on both sides of the fence, but they still get me. They still get me. Those
Every
goddamn
time.
trolls. And you know who's the biggest one? And I know he'll never see this, is Keith. Keith is the biggest troll in my army. If I needed to make a bridge for Keith the troll, it would be the Golden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Is the biggest troll in my life, this Keith character.
That's hilarious. It'd be funny if Cherish was actually listening and not talking.
Cherish, if you're listening and Keith is sullenly hiding in the background waiting to troll me again, I've got, not only do I have like online evidence of a history of trolling, I've got legitimate physical artifacts in this studio of being like, Kayla, do you want to see? I'm not going to show it until someone says they agree to it, because they might have to censor it. Oh, maybe I can't. It's well, I'll just tell you, it's a dick. It's a dick lollipop. I don't know if I show it, that'll pull my stream, but
Yeah, it might.
it's laying literally right here. It has to sit face down so it's not a dick just sticking on my my case back here. I got my dick. I feel like my turd keychain I found, and I meant to. It's supposed to be in that cup, but the skull's in there right now.
Mm.
Yeah, long lineage of.
Yeah.
And then, just like here's what happens. I feel like we all do it. It's this vicious cycle where we're all, when we come together, we're all pretty much on the same plane. Like if we're going to record the podcast, we're all on the Discord server or whatever. We all show up at a 10. But the first time someone walks through that door, stumbles, and shows us they're a 9.75, we beat them down until they're a 2. Like, I can't tell you. Like, I mean, if you listen to the show, you've heard how many times Andy has been forced away from the mic. You've heard Adam and I lose our shit. And I guess that's the nature of the beast, I suppose, is well, that's the thing. If you didn't have a button, nobody would push it, but also buttons are fun to push. So you got to realize that if people know your buttons,
You know mine.
yeah, and you're going to have to
All the time.
yeah, but that's what you got to do. Like if you walk into an elevator and you push a button, like you want to go to the second floor, the light doesn't turn on, it doesn't ding, that button's broken. You say, oh, well, fuck. But if you go in, you get in the next elevator and you push the 2 button, and not only does it light up and ding, a small window or a door opens and hands you like a tall glass of champagne, and confetti and balloons fall on you. That is how viscerally gratifying that button is to push. You're going to want to push it all the time. That's what I'm telling you, Krista, is when I find one of your buttons, don't throw the confetti and drop the balloons. I would play that close to the vest, because one of my favorite button pushing moments in FFOP history probably is when we grilled Andy about letting the kids who would sneak onto the playground of the school he was a janitor at have sex on the playground equipment.
I remember that.
For some reason, that was his button. And I think it was just because he was drunk enough to show us like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
He was, it was as if we were playing hide and seek, and there was Andy standing in the middle of the road holding up a single spruce branch. Like, that's how bad he hit his button from us in this scenario.
The thing is, like, I don't, until you hit it, I don't exactly know what all my buttons are.
That's another reason you need people like me, is that you need someone constantly at the fence minding it and looking for those things, because the last thing you need is someone like a stranger finding one of your buttons, because then you'll end up being one of these I think that's what the problem is. A Karen is just someone who got a button found in public, but also coupled with some sort of frontal lobe damage or something that makes them lose their mind.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like somebody finds one of their buttons either accidentally or intentionally, and they let the world know, hey, that was my button. And then not only does the person who found it get to celebrate, but that would be like if the button you pushed in the aforementioned elevator then connected to every other elevator, and everybody got to be showered in confetti and happy music.
Yeah.
Because the internet is everybody's elevator. And if you're going to be a bitch, I mean, I'm going to watch that video, and I bet a bunch of other people are too.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's why I don't understand. Like, especially, freak out all you want. I get that. That's human nature. But when at least one large black rectangle has emerged and is now following you around like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that does not dissuade you from your tirade, that takes something special.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some sort of solvent abuse or sniffing glue. I don't know.
Probably. Mixing bleach with cleaning chemicals.
Yeah. Oh, here's a funny story. So when I was an electrician, we had to take the OSHA 10, OSHA 12. I don't know. It was either a 10, 12, 16 hour course, whatever. that was all safety focused, and it was run by the woman who was in charge of safety for the entire company. And in my opinion, she was underpaid because this poor woman could not even afford a bra. And I felt bad for those tits because she need them like soccer balls every day. That's just a hilarious aside. Moral of the story is the woman who was in charge of our safety, in charge of our MDS sheets, in charge of our CPR certification, in charge of all of our equipment and materials and yada, 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 almost murdered herself.
What?
So what she did was, once again, the woman in charge of our OSHA safety material data sheet and hazardous chemical education poured bleach and I think pine sol or something, the two components that made chlorine gas, into her toilet and nearly died. If she had not hit the fan and opened the door before passing out in the hallway, we would not have seen her saggy tits that day.
Ugh.
We would not have gotten to smell the kitty litter on her muumuu and the tuna fish on her breath. And, you know, the world would have been poorer for it.
I almost passed out once doing that in our old house. I don't think it was pine sol, though. I don't remember what I was doing. Whatever I was doing, cleaning the shower.
Here's a rule of thumb, because there are dangerous things out there. If you're going to put something in your mouth and it's alive, make sure it's not brightly colored. If you're going to clean something in your bathroom, use one fucking thing at a time. Because for some reason, Johnson & Johnson was like, let's make every chemical we make to clean a bathroom wildly hazardous if you combine it with literally any other chemical we make for cleaning a bathroom.
Yeah.
So, word to the wise, you're going to clean your toilet with something. If it's not working, get rid of that shit before trying something new. Because there are dumbasses out there who be like, that Clorox powder, this doesn't work. And then, like, you know, they'll turn it into a witch's cauldron. And I don't know, there's probably a stat out there on the internet somewhere. But I want to see the number of bodies found next to toilets made of magic potions, essentially. like Kablam and Fabuloso and Pine Sol and Clorox, and it's just like this bubbling witch's cauldron of newts' eyes and frogs' lips and shit. But you know what's happening every day? Like, every day we lose someone to a toilet punch party.
Probably.
It's one of those statistics I think Time Magazine reported on. I want to see a Time Magazine pie chart where we see like that little red sliver. It's like toilet bowl punch party deaths, not murders.
Accidental suicides.
Yeah, that's another thing. Maybe the butt thing was too much to ask. Maybe just no accidental suicides. How about that?
Yeah.
For a year, just to prove we could do it. Like, nobody lit themselves up while trying to, you know, fix their light in the bathroom while taking a shower. Like, let's have none of that. Like, we weren't, you know, hanging some curtains and accidentally fashioned a noose while falling to the floor and snapping our own necks or whatever. All that stuff, man. Like, let's.
Yeah.
But then again, you see it in the animal kingdom. There's a I think it's the Twitter account is called Nature is Scary. And it is true to its word. It's basically a bunch of animals, like clips of animals or photos of animals, either in the progress of attacking or having attacked or doing something or some sort of natural horrific event like a tsunami or whatever. And I forget where I was going with this.
I'm not too sure either.
Animals, maybe.
Accidental suicide.
Accidental suicide. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I got lost in how cool the thing is. So, but a solid like 1/5 to 1/3 of the photos are photographs of skeletonized or recently deceased animals who either got their necks stuck on a tree or fell in a little ditch or whatever. Or my favorite one, and this guy couldn't help it, obviously. It was either a moose or an elk that had gotten caught in an avalanche and then smashed to a tree by another tree and then covered in snow. So when the snow melted, it was just like this elk sandwich between these two trees.
Aww.
He couldn't help it. Because, you know, avalanches happen.
Yeah.
But every other dumbass animal, like, and there was a picture of a bird who was making a nest, but hung itself on a piece of string.
Oh.
So
We've got that bird in that tree in the neighborhood behind us. That's never gonna.
that's a natural oddity. I don't know how to explain that, but that's also a reference nobody's going to get. So, moving on, guys and or girls and or whoever watched this and or is going to watch this in the future, or if you whatever. Thanks, Kayla. Thanks for stopping by and moderating. Really keeping the chat room active.
Yeah.
I mean, for a one-person show, you did a good job. I mean, this is...
She hasn't said anything since we were talking about the 90s. Like
I know,
an
but
hour
still,
ago.
to having no one to interact with, that was some good engagement.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Also, you know, not that everybody's gonna watch this either, but I'm probably gonna kick it down to like one show a month. Just do like not a month, but a week. Let's just do a Friday show, a hashtag Flamingo Friday show. So I'm running out of guests and also my gimmicks. So I don't know. Once a week's probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah, dudes and dudettes and everybody in between. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. If you show up later, or even if you had it playing in the background, you know, this is something to fall asleep to. I don't mind. I fall asleep to tons of people.
It's true.
So yeah, guys, thanks for watching and or listening. And until what's coming up Friday? Anything special?
The boys.
Oh yeah. So shit. So yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna plug this. Coming up Friday, Until My Battery Dies with the boys, Adam and Andy from the show. Finally got them on.
Again.
Strangely difficult to schedule things with the two other people I run the show with.
So are they? Are we doing a live stream with them of the show, or are we doing it just?
No, they are on. I mean, yes, we are doing the show, but that show being Until My Battery Dies.
Okay.
So they're gonna be put through the FFOP 5, you know, and all other crazy shit. So that'll be fun. It'll be a little off brand. So I don't know. We don't have any bits planned. It's obviously going to be. I might encourage them to drink and then drink myself because it's Friday. It's Flamingo Friday. It's time to chill out.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fun. We're this much closer to Halloween. I've got so much. Oh man, I've got so much going into this Halloween special. Which means I can guarantee. Here's a future prediction. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The more energy and effort I put into something, the more underwhelming and shitty it is. So, I'm making you this guarantee. This Halloween special is going to be 100% underwhelming, but I'm still going to put forth all of my effort to hope that it doesn't.
Perfect.
I mean, I've got segments written out. I've got notes. We've got our two hosts set up. I don't see any reason why it should follow the tradition of literally 100% of every other time. But we'll see. Like I said,
It'll be fine.
But that's what I'm sure it will be fine. But I want it to blow the doors off of like Halloween. I want people to have their dicks knocked in the dirt and or their tits tossed into the trash. And to do that, I would need, you know,
A lot of money.
not money. I probably could do it on a shoestring budget. I just need willing participants. I need like background people to make sure all that, because that's the problem. If you're running the show with just you and one other person, there are a lot of jobs. More than two, if you can believe it. And it would be great to have like 5 people in the room just keeping an eye on shit because it's going to be a big deal.
We got it. We can do it.
I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fine is what I'm going to say. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kayla, thanks for stopping by. Anybody else who did not mention themselves in the chats, maybe you're shy. Maybe you're one of those people from Iowa who are downloading the show but are too shy to tell me about it. I know you're there. I know Iowa's out there downloading our show. I know Germany's doing it. I goddamn know for a fact Russia is doing it and stealing my shit to put on their site once I'm dead again. But whatever. The Russians can have it. They took everything else. Yep. All right, guys. That's it. I'm really calling it. I've ended it almost 4 or 5 times, but this time it is for real. So until next time, and that time is Friday. I'm Dave.
I'm Christa.
And yeah, this has been Until My Battery Dies, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.